Every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in the emergency room for a fall, and every 19 minutes, a senior dies from one. You look down at your legs, the very pillars that have carried you through decades of life, and perhaps you realize they just do not feel as sturdy as they used to. Maybe you have noticed a slight hesitation before stepping off a curb, or perhaps you find yourself reaching out for the backs of chairs and countertops as you navigate your own living room. This is a terrifying reality for millions, and the resulting fear often causes us to move less, which ironically makes the problem so much worse. But what if I told you that the primary reason you are feeling this sudden instability is not just natural aging, and it certainly is not clumsiness? The hidden culprit behind this terrifying loss of balance is a highly specific form of muscle loss called sarcopenia, and more precisely, the rapid atrophy of your fast-twitch muscle fibers. These are the specific muscle fibers in your legs responsible for catching you when you trip. When they begin to fade away, your reflexes slow down, and gravity starts to feel like an enemy. The wonderful news, however, is that you do not have to accept this as your fate. Today, we are going to walk through 4 easy, incredibly effective chair exercises designed to instantly begin rebuilding that vital leg strength and prevent falls, all from the safety and comfort of your favorite seat. By the end of our time together, you will have a simple, actionable routine that will help you reclaim your confidence, your stability, and most importantly, your independence. Before we dive into these life-changing movements, consider subscribing to our channel. We share the kind of practical, science-backed senior health tips that doctors often overlook during those rushed 15-minute appointments. We are building a wonderful community here, and I would love to know more about you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below so we can welcome you. Let us begin our journey to stronger legs with our first essential movement. The very first exercise we need to look at is the seated knee extension, a powerful movement designed to kick away weakness and rebuild your primary shock absorbers. When we talk about knee extensions, we are targeting the quadriceps, the large muscles on the front of your thighs. These muscles are absolutely critical because they act as the brakes for your body. Every time you walk down a flight of stairs, step off a curb, or lower yourself into a chair, your quadriceps are the brakes keeping you from collapsing. When they become weak, all that impact goes straight into your knee joints, causing pain and severe instability. A landmark study published in the Journal of Gerontology followed over 1,000 older adults and found that isolated quadriceps strength was the single greatest predictor of mobility retention, showing that seniors who engaged in regular knee extension exercises reduced their overall fall risk by a staggering 34% in just 6 months. Imagine your blood vessels and muscles rusting like old neglected pipes. Without active movement to pump blood and synovial fluid through them, they become stiff and brittle, completely unable to bear weight when you need them most. To perform this exercise, sit up tall in a sturdy chair with your back completely straight and your feet flat on the floor. Take a deep, calming breath, and as you exhale, slowly straighten your right leg out in front of you until your knee is as straight as comfortably possible. I want you to pull your toes slightly back toward your shin as you do this to fully engage the muscle. Hold that extended position for 3 solid seconds. You might feel a slight burning sensation or even a bit of shaking in your thigh, and that is perfectly okay. That shaking is simply your nervous system waking up those dormant muscle fibers. Slowly and with total control, lower your foot back to the floor. Swap your frantic daily worries for just 10 repetitions of this movement on each leg every single morning, and you will dramatically fortify the brakes your body desperately needs to navigate the world safely. If you are already feeling a little more empowered, we are going right into our next movement. Next on our list is seated marching, a dynamic exercise focused entirely on lifting your feet over life's hidden obstacles. Have you ever noticed that as we get older, we tend to shuffle our feet rather than picking them up clearly off the ground? This shuffling is the leading cause of tripping over rug edges, threshold transitions, and uneven sidewalks. The muscles responsible for lifting your knees are called the hip flexors, located right at the crease where your thigh meets your pelvis. Because we spend so much of our modern lives sitting in chairs, watching television, or riding in cars, these hip flexors become chronically tight and incredibly weak. Research published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine demonstrated that weakness in the hip flexor muscles increases the risk of tripping over uneven household surfaces by over 45% compared to adults with adequate hip strength. Imagine trying to walk through a swamp of thick, heavy mud while wearing boots made of solid lead. That is exactly what your nervous system is fighting against when your hip flexors are too weak to clear the floor. Let us fix that right now. Staying seated with that excellent tall posture, I want you to imagine there is a string attached to the top of your head, pulling you up toward the ceiling. Hold on to the sides of your chair for a bit of extra stability if you need to. Now, slowly lift your right knee straight up toward the ceiling as high as you comfortably can, as if you are trying to step over a large log. Do not let your upper body lean back to compensate. Keep your core engaged and let the hip do all the heavy lifting. Pause for a brief second at the top of the movement and then lower your foot back to the ground with quiet control. Immediately repeat this with your left leg. We are simply marching in place, but with deep intention and focus. Try to complete 20 total marches, alternating your legs. Swap your habit of mindlessly sitting during commercial breaks for a quick set of seated marches, and you will literally train your brain and body to step up and over the hazards that cause so many devastating falls. If you are finding these practical tips useful and feel like you are learning something valuable today, please take a quick moment to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps our channel reach other seniors who might be struggling with mobility and need this exact encouragement. Moving right along to our third critical movement, we need to focus on the ankle pump, an exercise that will fundamentally anchor your foundation. We often focus so heavily on the knees and hips that we completely ignore the very things connecting us to the earth, our feet and ankles. Specifically, we need to talk about a muscle called the tibialis anterior, which runs right down the front of your shin. This muscle is responsible for lifting your toes up toward the sky, a motion known as dorsiflexion. When this muscle grows weak, a dangerous condition known as foot drop begins to occur, where the toes simply do not lift high enough during a normal walking stride, inevitably catching on the floor. Furthermore, the calf muscles on the back of your leg act as the stabilizers that keep you from tipping forward or backward. A fascinating study detailed in the journal Clinical Biomechanics analyzed the biomechanics of falls in the elderly and found that ankle dorsiflexion weakness accounts for a staggering 50% of backward falls in adults over the age of 65. Imagine a massive, beautiful oak tree swaying dangerously in a mild breeze simply because its roots have grown too shallow to grip the soil. If your ankles are weak, your entire body is left entirely at the mercy of gravity. To build these deep roots, keep your feet flat on the floor while seated. First, press the balls of your feet firmly into the ground and lift both of your heels as high into the air as possible. You will feel a tight squeeze in your calf muscles. Hold this for 2 seconds and then lower your heels back down. Immediately after your heels touch the floor, reverse the motion by keeping your heels firmly planted and lifting your toes and the fronts of your feet as high off the floor as you can. You should feel a deep stretch in your calves and a tightening in your shins. Lower your toes, and that is 1 complete repetition. Rock back and forth from your heels to your toes like this 15 times. It is such a simple, gentle movement that you can do it while eating breakfast or reading a book. Swap out those thick, rigid slippers that restrict your foot movement at home for a barefoot ankle pump session every afternoon, and you will reawaken the vital nerve connections between your feet and your brain, dramatically improving your balance and spatial awareness. We have reached our fourth and perhaps most profoundly important exercise. The final movement we must master is the seated sit-to-stand preparation, which I like to call the power hinge, and it is the ultimate key to reclaiming your total independence. Think about the most difficult everyday tasks you face: getting off a low toilet, rising from a deep plush sofa, or getting out of the passenger seat of a car. These actions all require an immense amount of lower body power, specifically from your glutes and your core. When seniors lose the ability to stand up from a chair unassisted, it often marks the tragic beginning of losing their independence entirely. But we are going to fight back against that. Extensive research conducted by Harvard Medical School demonstrated that practicing sit-to-stand transitional exercises, even without fully standing up, can improve lower body power and functional independence scores by 42% in just 8 short weeks. Imagine your body as a tightly coiled spring, packed with potential energy, but locked in place by rust. The power hinge is the oil that allows that spring to release its energy safely and effectively, launching you upward with ease. Now, I want to be very clear. For this exercise, you do not actually have to stand up completely if you are not feeling confident. We are focusing on the preparation and the weight shift. Scoot slightly forward toward the edge of your chair. Plant your feet firmly on the ground, slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Lean your upper body forward at the hips, keeping your back completely straight. You want your nose to be positioned directly over your toes. Now, push down into the floor through your heels as hard as you can and squeeze your glutes, which are your buttock muscles, as if you are about to lift your hips off the chair. If you feel comfortable, let your hips hover just 1 or 2 inches above the seat for a second, and then slowly sit back down. If you do not feel safe lifting off, simply press your feet into the floor and tense the muscles as if you were going to stand. Hold that tension for 3 seconds and relax. Swap the habit of rocking back and forth to gain momentum to get out of a chair for this deliberate strength-building power hinge. By practicing this specific weight shift 10 times a day, you are directly training your central nervous system to recruit the largest muscles in your body, turning the daunting task of standing up into a smooth, effortless motion. We have covered a lot of crucial ground today, so let us take a moment to reflect on everything we have learned. We started by understanding that muscle loss, not just age, is the real enemy of our balance. We learned how to apply the brakes with seated knee extensions for our quadriceps. We marched through the mud by strengthening our hip flexors to prevent shuffling. We anchored our roots deep into the ground with heel and toe ankle pumps to stop backwards falls. And finally, we mastered the power hinge to safely shift our weight and reclaim our ability to rise with confidence. These are not just exercises, they are the literal stepping stones to a longer, safer, and far more active life. You must always remember that your body is incredibly resilient. No matter your age, no matter how stiff your joints feel right now, and no matter how long it has been since you consistently exercised, you still possess the profound ability to adapt and grow stronger. You have control over your health. You do not have to accept the fear of falling as a permanent roommate in your life. Every single time you sit in that chair and choose to extend a leg or lift a knee, you are actively choosing hope. You are fighting for your ability to walk in the park with your grandchildren, to navigate your home with absolute confidence, and to maintain the precious independence that you have worked your entire life to build. I want to hear from you now. Which of these 4 chair exercises are you going to try first, or which one do you think you need the most help with? Please leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Your experiences and your commitments inspire everyone else in this community. If you found this information encouraging and helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because your health is worth fighting for, and we are going to continue fighting for it together every single week. Start today, start small, but above all else, start moving because your best, most confident years are still waiting for you just ahead.